South Africa is known for its sun-scorched horizons and winters that barely bite. But in August 2026, those familiar landscapes disappeared under a cold front that dropped temperatures to freezing, shut down major national routes, and brought snow to provinces that had not seen it in over a decade. What began as a routine weather alert on the 8th of August became, within 48 hours, an emergency that closed roads across 8 provinces. The N3, the country's busiest freight corridor, was severed. Mountain passes became impassable, and for the first time in recent memory, parts of KwaZulu-Natal lay buried under snowfall measured not in centimeters, but in the disruption it left behind. Today we examine the weather system that caused it, the roads it closed, and the communities caught in its path. To understand what happened, we have to start with the system itself. Meteorologists call it a cutoff low, a system of low pressure that develops at roughly 500 millibars, about 5.5 kilometers above sea level, and becomes detached from the main westerly airflow. When that happens, the system stalls. It sits in place, and because it is cut off from the steering winds that would normally push it along, it can linger for days, feeding moisture into cold air and producing exactly what South Africa experienced: heavy rainfall near the coast and heavy snowfall over high-lying areas inland. This was not the first time. In September 2024, a similar cut-off low produced more than 2 meters of snow in parts of the Drakensberg, stranding motorists and closing the very same mountain passes that would be shut again nearly 2 years later. Tokelo Chilewani, a senior forecaster at the South African Weather Service, described conditions as severe and unusual, a system parked over high ground, trapping cold air and refusing to move. For a country accustomed to mild winters, the difference was not merely meteorological, it was physical. Roads that had carried traffic for decades without interruption were suddenly impassable. The N3 between Estcourt and Harrismith is not merely a road. It is the spine of South Africa's freight network, the corridor that connects the port of Durban to the economic heartland of Gauteng. When it closed, the impact was immediate. Reenen Pass, notorious for its steep gradients and unpredictable weather, became a hazard zone of black ice, mist, and near-zero visibility. The Tugela toll plaza shut down entirely. Motorists were told not to attempt the journey to KwaZulu-Natal via the N3 at all. In KwaZulu-Natal's interior, the situation was no better. The R617 from Underberg to Kokstad was completely closed under continuous heavy snowfall. The R74 Olivierhoek Pass was shut. Near Kokstad itself, roads were buried, and a truck was stranded in snow that accumulated to between 10 and 20 centimeters, not a remarkable depth by international standards, but paralyzing in a region with no routine snow-clearing infrastructure. The disruption was not confined to one province. In the Eastern Cape, the N6 Penhoek Pass closed. So did the N9 Lootsburg Pass, the R58 Barkley Pass, and Bosmanshoek Pass. In Mpumalanga, Long Tom Pass on the R37 was shut after multiple vehicles became stranded. In the Western Cape, Swartberg Pass was closed. Across 5 provinces, the roads that connect communities, supply chains, and emergency services were severed, all by a weather system that 2 days earlier had been a line on a forecast chart. But a closed road is an inconvenience. What happened on those roads is something else entirely. 2 people lost their lives in the Howick area when their vehicle lost control in icy conditions. A 3rd fatality was reported on the affected routes. These were not statistics. These were people. On roads they had driven countless times, in conditions few South Africans are ever taught to navigate. The cold front did not discriminate. It simply arrived, and those caught in its path paid the price. On Long Tom Pass, multiple vehicles were stranded before authorities could close the route. A family was rescued after their vehicle plunged off the R34 into a dam. Motorists spent hours trapped in freezing temperatures, uncertain when or if the roads would reopen. The psychological toll of those hours is harder to measure than snowfall, but it is no less real. The response, when it came, was coordinated and urgent. Government graders were deployed to clear snow from road surfaces. Emergency workers sprayed brine along the Harrismith to Van Reenen corridor to prevent ice formation. An orange level 6 warning was issued, a classification that signals not merely severe weather, but a high probability of significant impact to lives and infrastructure. Schools closed. Travel advisories were issued nationally. And KwaZulu-Natal's Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs coordinated real-time disaster management across affected municipalities. The machinery of emergency response worked, but the question remains, should a country need to respond at all to snow? The September 2024 event and the August 2026 event are separated by less than 2 years. 2 cut-off lows, 2 major snow emergencies, 2 rounds of closed roads, stranded motorists, and fatalities. The pattern is observable. Whether it is the new normal is a question for climatologists, but what is not in dispute is that South Africa's road infrastructure, particularly its mountain passes, was not designed for this. Graders can clear snow, brine can melt ice, but neither addresses the deeper issue, that when weather systems like this arrive, the roads themselves become liabilities. Van Reenen Pass, Olivier Hoek Pass, Long Tom Pass. These are not remote tracks. They are national routes carrying freight and families. When they close, the cost is measured in lives lost, goods delayed, and communities isolated. The roads have begun to reopen. Graders have cleared the passes. The N3 carries traffic again between Escourt and Harrismith, and the orange level warning has been downgraded. But a reopened road does not erase the hours spent stranded in freezing conditions, or the families who received news no one should receive on a winter morning. Weather systems move on. What remains is the question of whether we are prepared for the next one, and whether the next one comes sooner than we expect. A cold front may establish record snowfall, but it cannot answer whether we will be ready when it returns. If you found this analysis valuable, please subscribe and turn on notifications. We examine the events that shape South Africa, not through headlines, but through the systems, the decisions, and the people behind them. Thank you for watching.